My name's Wesley. 3 years ago, I was unemployed when my friend mentioned a job selling helmets and jackets at a motorcycle shop. I didn't know anything when I started, but I was a quick study. A year later, I decided to get a quote on this bike, a CRF 230. This is a dual sport motorcycle that's a pretty good bike to learn on. I was a new rider, but I had a perfect driving record for several years and plenty of road experience. I was quoted $3,600 with no theft coverage and no collision coverage for a motorcycle I could purchase for around $3,000. This put an abrupt end to my desire to register a road bike. Working in the community, I've had plenty of conversations on the topic, and everyone has an opinion, but not everyone has a solution. Rather than pick a side, I'd prefer to showcase both sides of the story because, to be honest, I'm kinda in the middle of this whole thing. I've met some reckless young individuals, and to some extent I understand why there are high premiums. Motorcycles are dangerous and should be carefully thought about before purchasing. Charging huge amounts of money for insurance is one way to accomplish this. The picture at the end of the introduction came from Life magazine and was one of the first representations of the motorcycle community by the media. The repercussions of this can still be seen today, and I believe these are the reasons the industry is slowly dying. Motorcycles have become a luxury activity and can be afforded by few. The vast majority of people who ride are good people with a taste for adventure, and I think it's time the world saw this for what it truly is. Alright, so I'm here with Dave, one of my longtime customers here at Cycle World, and just wanted to get a few words from you, Dave. Maybe if you could talk to us about your first bike and your experience starting riding.
My first love, well, let me think. It was a Honda. It was a 750. It was a single overhead cam. I picked it up in the spring of 1980 off a head waiter at the Banff Springs Hotel. He got the bike off a friend and a university buddy of his that went to McGill. The bike was very low mileage, it was brand new. What caught my eye about it, it had the old style cafe type flaring on, or race flaring on it, like what they used to have back in the 60s and 70s. And this fairing was actually made by a Toronto person, as I found out when I started asking around. And this bike was, like I said, real low mileage. It went to the west coast, to BC, to Montreal, to Calgary, and then basically it sat. The guy never drove the damn thing anymore. So I used to come up from downtown in Banff, and the first few times I'd walk by, take a look at it, and then I started looking to see what the mileage was, and every time I walked past, the mileage was the same. So I started asking around, who owns this? So I tracked the guy down. I already knew him, and we made a deal, a good bottle of brandy, and it was mine. So I get on the thing, I go downtown in Banff, and I drive around the back streets for about 2 hours. Stop, go, first, second, third, second, first gear, all stop signs. Old Town was nothing but stop signs. So I got bored of that, and I said, well, let's head out on the highway, the Trans-Canada. So I got out, next thing I know, geez, here's Calgary. 100 miles later.
Can you talk a little bit about Parts Canada, what it is you guys do?
Certainly. I'm Keith Lizelle, District Sales Manager with Parts Canada, as Wes said, and I cover what we call the GTA, or the Greater Toronto Area. Been with Parts Canada for 8 years now, and essentially what I do is I travel anywhere from Cobourg in the east and to Milton, Burlington in the west, and I see about 60 different dealers a month, and most of them on a 4-week rotation. And the bigger ones I see more often, and show samples, talk to them about buying programs or booking programs, do fill-in orders, checking inventory to make sure they've got the necessary stock for the season, that sort of thing.
Awesome.
I tend to like what we call dual sport or adventure touring motorcycles. That's essentially its own segment in the motorcycle industry. There's your cruiser, there's your sport bike, and then the dual sport. And the dual sport is more of a standard riding position, so you're a little more upright, a little more comfortable. And they're designed to be able to travel essentially the highways and the byways, so you can take them off-road, fire roads, gravel roads, that sort of thing, even wide trails. and in the same breath you can turn around and take them on the highway and do 150 kilometers on the highway, which of course I don't do.
Yeah, well,
But they're a lot of fun. You put more aggressive tires on them, and like I said, hence the term adventure touring. It enables you to go down little roads that you don't know where they go until you get there, kind of thing. And as I said, they're more comfortable riding position, a little more fuel economic with the fuel, and they don't do anything fantastic, but they do a lot of things really well.
So I'm here with Debbie, and I was wondering, Debbie, what age group do you deal with mostly working in accessories?
So mostly I deal with young people around 25, really the mostly, because there is no problem with the insurance. Under 25, they get high insurance and they are limited what kind of bike they are buying. And after, I deal with the older people, because older people have already children out from the house, they have no mortgages, they would like to enjoy something they dream about all their life, so they are going to buy some great bike, or they did have a bikes when they were very young, after they couldn't have a bike because they have a children, family, mortgages and all that. So now they have a time, or they are retired also, or they would like to do something with the wife together, so they are buying the bike. So really around 30 people just start the family, they don't have that much money, they have to take care of kids. Mostly, as I said, young before they get married, and the older crowd, they already have their kids out and no mortgage.
I was wondering, Pete, if you could talk about why you've decided not to put a bike on the road here in Canada. What are your reasons for not wanting to ride?
First, I want to apologize about my English, because this is my best English for 5 years. But it's not my decision not to put a bike on the Canadian road. It's a weather time, it's a seasonal job. And my main reason is the high insurance policy for me. And from there starts everything, that's it. So if I want to put the bike, it will cost me too much. Plus the season is summertime and I gotta work 7 days on this beauties here, and that's it. So I don't have time fixing bikes and going outside riding it. And the other thing, again, so the only free time that I have is winter time. So winter time nobody's ride the bikes. So all that insurance point, which is too expensive for me, doesn't worth the money getting the bike, putting it on the road, insure it. Plus another one, you can't insure the bike for 6 months, you have to insure the bike for 12 months year round. So why I'm paying that much money for my bike sitting winter time into the garage, not riding it? So everything is just combined in once.
Alright, I'm here with Chris Laidlaw, and we're in his garage where he keeps his CB750. Happens to be one of the first bikes he's ever rid, or not, sorry, one of the first bikes he ever cherished. This is definitely one of the bikes. It's got a lot of history and a very committed following. I know selling parts, lots of people who own this bike can tell they know their bike and they love their bike, and they always know what parts they want. So I'm here with Chris, and he's going to talk about, if he could, his experience in high school when you said you were 17 and you got your first CB750.
Yeah, well, I mean, this bike is a cafe bike that I built a number of years ago. It's a 750 Honda, single overhead cam. That kind of differentiates them from a lot of the newer bikes. There's not many single overhead cam 4 cylinders now. But yeah, again, yeah, as you say, the first one I had was a early 750 Honda. So I rode that when first one I got when I was 17 years old, and kind of loved them ever since. And yeah, I guess it's the old thing, you go back to your youth, and that's what I've got.
Alright, I'm here with my friend Harrison Laidlaw. He also happens to be a motorcycle mechanic, and what I'd like, Harry, if you could just talk what it's been like as a young man trying to get motorcycle insurance and getting on the road.
It's pretty brutal, really. I mean, when I was 18, my first bike was a DT 200, and it cost me $1,800 just for liability. But then the next year, I upgraded to an EX 500. Then it went to $2,500 for just liability, and they didn't offer. The only company that would insure me didn't offer a monthly payment. It had to be in like 4 payments, and that lasted about another year, and then insurance rates were supposedly going down. I had another year of experience under my belt with no ticket, no accident, and the next year I went to go get insurance, and they wanted like $3,000, so it went up even more for some reason. They couldn't explain it to me. Then again, I changed bikes, and it cost me. Ended up being the same amount, $3,000. So I was insured for one more year with that bike, and the next year, again, insurance rates were supposedly going down. Another year under my belt of experience, no tickets, no nothing, and then they wanted, like, I think it went up to $3,500, $3,700 for just liability, and at that point, it's like I can't afford that. I'm a student. Like, I have to pay for. I have a car also, so between the two of them, it's like it was either one or the other. So I wasn't able to insure my bikes, and had to get rid of that one. So
Yeah, it's pretty similar to my experience. I mean, for a long time, driving a car and the expenses of having a car, which in a lot of cases is more necessary in Canada. You know, you need to have something that you can travel 12 months of the year. And a motorcycle in that way, they only offer the insurance for the full year, correct?
yeah, it's you can get 6 months insurance for a car, but you can't get 6 months insurance for a bike.
That you actually ride.
Which doesn't make any sense at all, because a car, no matter what it is, if you wanted to drive it in the winter, you could.
Yeah.
But a lot of, like, you know, well, the majority of bikes out there, like, you wouldn't be able to take that out in the snow.
No.
Not at all.
And especially a year like this year, you know, you got people still waiting to go riding, and it's already April. You know, that's
Yeah.
easily 6 months that you get no value for, and they're charging the pretty excessive premiums.
Exactly.
So yeah, no, definitely from what I've seen, there's just lots of young people buying, trying to get on the road, buying bikes, and a lot of the time they do buy a bike, and when they get the quote, they have a bike for essentially nothing because they literally can't ride their bike.
A sport bike, a young guy. When I was 19, I got a quote on a CBR 600, and they quoted me $12,000 for just liability.
Yeah.
Like, you're telling me I'm gonna write the bike off 3 times within the 1 year?
Yeah, I know I've definitely seen individuals who, you know, one fellow had a CBR 900 or 929, I believe, the Fireblade, and yeah, he was paying I know at least $9,000, and fellow, you know, we spoke about it, and he was, you know, really dedicating almost half his year's income.
And especially motorcycle enthusiasts, they want a motorcycle because they love motorcycles. They love the thrill of riding it. They just love, you know, that type of experience, that type of ride. You don't really buy one as a necessity, especially in Canada, having only a limited time frame of the year that you can ride it in. It just doesn't, you know. And for these people, it's like puts such a massive hole in their pocket, and it never used to be like that. There used to be more people riding. Well, me going to high school, I was the only one in my school that had a motorcycle. Out of, like, you know, 500-600 people there, only one person had a motorcycle. And it was the same thing the year before me, because people just can't afford them now.
Many of my conversations throughout this experience were not recorded on tape. Some of these, however, had the most genuine responses. Chris and Dave both drove 750 motorcycles before the age of 20, a feat that would today cost over $10,000. They also spoke of how many people did not make it during those times and did not seem too opposed to current day rates. Pseudo insurance called the Unsatisfied Judgment Fund was offered by the government and allowed anyone to ride anything, but they were liable if they got sued. Not surprisingly, this program ended, but now many people can never get on the road, period. In Britain, you need to gain experience with smaller CC vehicles before moving up to a larger motorcycle, and if it helped regulate the extreme cost of insurance, I think many people would be open to the idea.